I've taken my big pot off the bat, and after it was flipped, the bat was stuck. So after it was stuck, what I had to do is take my knife and go around, and then it came off. So now that I'm looking at the inside, I think it would be a good idea if there's any areas that need to kind of be cleaned up, like this area right here where the two coils are meeting but they're not married together. Go ahead and smear some of that clay into the other coil above it. Now remember, when I'm saying coils, I'm actually using slab coils, I guess you could call it. Okay, so now this is leather hard. I'm ready to add the next layer. And you're going to work the same as you did before. This is leather hard, so it's going to be able to stand. And I'm going to now start moving it inward. Okay. So I got my coils. And I'm going to go ahead and cut this one so it has a nice clean end. You may have to start standing at some point, but it's best if you don't let the top get too dry. This is the part that I think is exciting because the form starts really coming alive now. And then don't go all the way to the end. Go ahead and slice. Make sure you have a nice straight edge for the next one to attach to. Add some water. Get your next coil ready. I'm just gonna rest this here. So if you drape it inside, you do risk the weight and the pulling of it to thin it out. So we don't want that. So just kind of rest it up here. All right, back and forth, squishy, squishy, get resist. It's a little bit like a snake. Just kind of drape it around. Okay. That's okay. When you know you're not going to use all of it, go ahead and just cut that off and put it aside. So don't let your rim get past leather hard. It's best if your rim could stay a little bit closer to soft leather hard, because I am pressing my coil into it and pinching it and marrying those two things. So if this is too hard here, you're not going to be able to press it. And being able to press that thins it out so the walls can consistently even. So I'm just going to go around it here. Make sure that's on. Okay. All right. Good. All right, let's go for the next row now. Just drape it somewhere. Let it rest. Okay. Remember, if you don't want the change of direction to happen so quickly, you'll use a wider slab. Not thicker, wider. work. This is a slab from before. It may actually work to go ahead and, oops, put that on. Remember, you gotta have a clean, straight ending. I think it's best. So I'm just gonna, again, squishy, squishy, get that married onto that. Almost. Almost. Yeah. Just gonna put a little piece of clay here and here. Squish it together. Go ahead and thin this a little bit by pressing it with counter pressure on the inside. Okay, now we can add another coil. When you add coils, I wouldn't keep the lines, I would offset them, like when you're laying brick, okay? So this is my seam from before, so go ahead and put your next one somewhere else. Don't start on the same seam. Sometimes seams can just be thin spots or thick spots. You don't want to have it being consecutive because that could cause a obvious weak spot, or the wall could get really bulging in that area if it's consecutively thicker. Squishy, squishy. Okay, think it can take one more coil, so let's do it. Let's do one more. What I really like about working with a coil that isn't more than 1.5 inches, 2 inches is I can do my pinchy pull the same as I do when I'm on my wheel. I can get my thumb and my fingers counter pressure the same time and push that coil into the rim from below and thin it to the perfect thickness. See, I can get right down in there. Great. Okay. Last one for this, and then I'll let this one rest. last coil. It only took how many coils to get it perfect today to end. And that's just the way it goes. So I'm gonna go ahead and smooth this and marry it together, and then we're gonna paddle. I'm gonna just go ahead and smooth some of this. My wheel is set so it's spinning counterclockwise. So when you are turning your wheel by hand, if you want to turn it the opposite way, switch your wheel on, I guess it'd be reverse. So I'm just moving it that way because that's what it's set on. That's how I normally throw. So. Okay. All right, so now I'm gonna get my paddle, and I have a piece of wood that's rounded. I may continue working on this form. I think this would work well too if it was just a rounded piece of wood, but right now all I've done is just sanded it and then have a nice big paddle. So I'm gonna first press this against the wall and paddle this seam. So I've moved up to the next row. Oops. Now, this is really sticking. So what I'm going to do actually is just use more of this area right here. Before I stop. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of bring this back into round and let it rest, and then when it's leather hard I can even paddle it some more. Some people actually wait until it's leather hard to paddle, so you know, you can judge your work.